Welcome to Gita Wisdom with Lakshmi. We're studying chapter 4, continuing from text 18 through 25. Good evening, everyone. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for giving me your association this evening. I look very much forward to associating with you in this wonderful way. So let's begin right away with the Gita. We're going to begin with text 18, as I said, and then we'll continue on from there, see how far we get. The topic is so rich. Last week I intended to do several verses, but I couldn't get past the first one, the karma one. So let's see how we do this evening with text 18. As always, we will begin with some Sanskrit to put us in the mood of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaking to Arjuna on the battlefield, the wisdom of the yoga system, and how it will cause mukti or liberation from the bonds of material existence. And the verse, text 18 of the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, reads as follows: Karmanya karma ya pasyat akarmani cha karma ya sabbuddhiman manusheshu sayukta krishna karma krit. It's nice to also see what it means word for word. So I'm going to do that also. Karmani, in action. Akarma, inaction. So one means in, separate word, action. Akarma means inaction, which is one word. So the first one is two words, in action. The second one means inaction. Yaha, one who, pashyat, observes, akarmani, in, new word, in action. It'll be clear in the translation. Cha, also, karma, fruitive action. Ya, one who, sa, he, buddhiman, is intelligent. Manusheshu, in human society. Sa, he, yuktaha, is in the transcendental position. Kritsna karma krit, although engaged in all activities. And reading the translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. So let's break it down, what Krishna is saying here. He's saying action in inaction and inaction in action. So what does that exactly mean? In one sentence, inaction, meaning no action, let's put it that way, no action, as opposed to inaction means with action. So no action is referring to inaction means, and listen to this, the inner freedom and stillness that remains even while actively performing one's duties in the world. So we discussed last week how karma means action, any kind of action that we do, both physical or mental. Mental means like the desires. There's the thinking, feeling, and willing. So in the mind, it manifests as what? As desires. And then the more we contemplate that, Krishna says, then we have attachment to what we are contemplating. And the more we contemplate that desire, the more we are contemplating on the objects of sense gratification, attachment develops. And from that attachment comes intense desire. So that's why we have to be careful what we're thinking of, basically. We have to be careful what we're focused on. Once we are focused on something, it becomes our attachment. And then when we become attached to something, then we act in such a way, thinking about it, willing it. That means I want it, I'm desiring. And so thinking, feeling, willing. Feeling means the desire to have it, willing means you actually make a plan to get it. So in this way, action, as we discussed last week, means, you do action within this world, you have desires and attachments to achieve those desires, and then you get caught up in that, and the end result is there's reaction to your actions. In the material world, there is the law of karma, and karma means for all human beings, for all humanity. Animals are not bound by the laws of karma. They pretty much act upon instinct, what is given to them, uh, equipped with the body, the physical, and the psychology of their physics, the psychology of their body. That's the way they act. And therefore, there's no karma that they incur. It's just that they're part of the cycle. It means that an animal, like a dog, like a tiger, they act in the way that their instinct drives them. And then they go through their entirety of their life. And there's no reaction to that. They just, next, when they pass away, they move on. They ascend from one species to the next until you reach human life. When you reach human life, then you are endowed with the ability to reason, to think, and you are held liable for that. So in humanity, in human species, according to the Vedas, there's 400,000 species of human life. And species is described as consciousness or consciousness level. So there can be a very low consciousness within human life, and there can be a very high consciousness in human life, and there can be innumerable steps in between. So this consciousness that we have, which is designated as humanity, means we can reason, and as a result of our that reasoning power, we are responsible for what we are doing. And that responsibility falls under the dictates or the mandates of the laws of karma. So we discussed last week, there's karma. That means you act in a way that's dharmic, a way which has good results, good actions, good results, to put it simply. Then there's vikarma, which means you don't act according to any kind of law or injunctions, Vedic injunctions. You act according to your desires. Very simply, you have a desire and you act according to that. There's nothing that is restricting you. There's no shastra, scripture per se, that is restricting you. You are just acting in that way, and the word that is quite often used is whimsical. You're whimsically behaving in such a way that it's called vikarma. There's a bad reaction to that. What are the reactions? Sin is a reaction. Legal problems is a reaction. Health issues is a reaction to bad karma or to bad actions or actions which are whimsical. All of these, whether it be legal, whether it be health, whether it be the facility or the ability to be educated, or then there is wealth, health, legal, beauty, education, either having it or not having it is the results, good karma or bad karma. So that is the karma. So we talked about action, karma. Action, which is governed by the mandates of Dharma and that what's contained in scriptures. Vikarma, you don't care for that. You don't want to act in any other way other than the way your senses dictate to you, the
Mm.
drive, the
Yep.
push of the senses. So that's vikarma. So a karma, right now, Krishna is talking about action as inaction. So that means with vikarma, or I mean a karma, it means we are acting, but those actions are meant as an offering to the Supreme. Everything that we do, Krishna makes a statement in the Bhagavad Gita, all that you do, all that you offer, all that you give away in charity, all austerities that you perform, all work that you perform, all of these, if they're an offering to me, this is what inaction means. It means that the law of karma, good action, good reaction, bad action, bad reaction, inaction, meaning not of the material world, not just for one's own sense gratification, but as an action to please the Supreme Lord. That means inaction. And in one sentence, as I said previously, inaction means the inner freedom and stillness that remains even while actively performing one's duties in this world. So it doesn't mean no action. It doesn't mean that one is irresponsible or has a just goes up to the Himalayas and gives up their family duty, gives up their duty to nation, et cetera, et cetera. Doesn't mean that. It means that when you act, either in the mind or physically, when you act and that action is seen as an offering to the Supreme, then that is called inaction. And that has no reaction. That is the benefit of a karma. So karma means not just physical movement, but only activity performed with personal desire, ego, or attachment to results. If you perform duties expecting praise, reward, or identity, that is karma. If you sit still, but your mind is busy with desires, planning to obtain those desires, envy, ambition, etc., you are still doing karma internally. So, what does that mean? That means that means outward stillness does not mean inner inaction. Sometimes people do yoga or they do meditation and they may get to a point where they can have like an outward stillness, right? They can sit quietly for a period of time. But if their mind is dwelling on how to gratify my senses, then that is considered karma. It's karma because it's action within the mind. It's in its seed form action in its seed formation. So that's why it may seem outwardly that there's peace, but inwardly there's still action. So that is called karma. Inaction, akarma means action without attachment for the results, without the fruits, enjoying the fruits of your action, without ego, without the mentality, I am the doer. And we'll discuss about that. It is not laziness. It is acting fully. See, Arjuna, when we meditate on the Bhagavad Gita and what the whole setting was of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna didn't want to act because he had all of his reasons. Compassion was a reason. He did not want to destroy the family. He had like 4 or 5 different reasons why he was acting in the way he was acting. So his conclusion was, I'll just go away. I won't do my duty as a Kshatriya. I'll go, to the Himalayas and I'll sit in meditation. And Krishna destroys that theory that Arjuna had, that was the best thing for him to do. And what does Krishna say? First, he says, nothing that you do will prevent the destiny of the souls that are on this battlefield. Nothing that you will do will prevent their destiny. You can participate in it because it's dharma, it's your dharma as a warrior. You can participate in that action. And it's also, Krishna was saying, it's also my desire to, when I come to this world, yada yada hi dharmasya, I come again and again to this world, glanir bhavati bharata, that I come again and again to this world to set things straight. When there is a proliferation of sinful activities, especially on the level of leadership, then I come and I try and I not try, but I do reestablish Dharma. I set things back on track. I put them back on the rails. That's why I come. So I've come to this world. If you look at in the Srimad Bhagavatam, for instance, that why was Krishna petitioned to come by Bhumi, the goddess of the earth, and Lord Brahma and all the demigods? He was petitioned because the earth was experiencing the burden of leadership that were not responsible. They were not thinking of the ultimate benefit of the citizenry. So they weren't doing their duty. And therefore they were creating all kinds of havoc in this world as we see today. When leadership goes astray, when leadership acts on the principle of ego, and everybody suffers, not just them, because they're in that position of responsibility, then they cause the suffering of others. So when Krishna was petitioned and he came to fulfill what he was petitioned for. And what he says in Bhagavad Gita, he will do. That he will relieve the earth of the burden of poor leadership through the mechanism of war. This Kurukshetra, this battle of Kurukshetra. So Krishna told Arjuna, it is my will, it is the implementation of this battle, and you can participate and become glorious because you're acting according to your dharma. You're a warrior, you're a kshatriya, and it is your duty, it is your responsibility to make sure that the citizens are protected. So when you have leadership who are not protecting the citizens and acting for their own gratification, then things have to be done. There was a story of King Vena in the Puranic, the Bhagavatam in particular, the history. He was a very, very sinful king. And this was yugas ago. So it wasn't like that was the environment, that's the norm. He was out of the norm. And when he began to act in such a way that was facilitating sin and heinous activities, then the Brahmins, who were the intellectual, they understood the scripture, how to translate scripture, how to implement scripture. When they understood that this was wreaking havoc on society, then they made arrangements that King Vena was removed. So it becomes Krishna has set it up. When he says Chatur Varnam Mayashristam Guna Karma Vibhagasaha, he says there's a social order and a spiritual order. And according to one's nature, you act in a particular way. And those that have the passion to be warriors, it's their responsibility. It's their duty to make sure society is governed in the proper way and to eliminate elements that are proliferating sinful activity and harm to the innocent. Their duty is that they have to stop that. They have to remove that. So that's what Krishna told Arjuna. So when Arjuna was in this bewilderment, a state of bewilderment, oh, I don't want to kill. Krishna says, you're not killing. You're doing your duty, and
Right.
your duty is in conjunction or is in agreement or is in alignment with my will, and therefore you are not performing action that will incur reaction. That's like the sum and substance of the whole dialogue of the first chapter between Krishna and Arjuna. And then Krishna gives from chapter 2 all the way through the 18th chapter, Krishna gives instructions and directions how how to live a life without incurring karma. It's not enough to just be. We had this discussion with Eleanor last week. It's not enough just to be sattvic, because in sattvic you still incur karma, and it may be the karma that you're incurring is good karma for yourself, but also you have the ability to commit actions that can cause bad karma for yourself, like you harm another living entity, even it may be accidental, still there's some reaction. I mean, it may not be the same level of reaction as someone who purposely, let's say there's a butterfly flying around and by accident you step on it, or something of that nature, or someone who actually grabs the butterfly, out of joy of killing, they kill it. The same thing is happening, but there's reaction to that, but the purposeful violence that has very heavy reaction, and the accidental violence that may occur. So that's the nature of acting under the laws of karma within the realm of the modes of material nature. You can still incur reaction, and that means you have to come back. And that means if you come back again and again, that means there's the possibility of incurring more bad action. So that's why Krishna is saying here, one who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men. And I recommend that you read this verse if you can, because it will help you to sort through than just hearing it. And it is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. So it's not laziness. Inaction does not mean not doing anything. It means they're acting fully, but with a mind established within the self and the super self, within the nature of oneself, the Atma, the spirit soul, and in conjunction, in alignment with the Paramatma, the super soul. So, what does that mean? Outward action with inward detachment. Outward action, inward detachment. It means we are not acting with the motivation or the drive to enjoy the fruits of our action. So if we can get this, if we can wrap our minds around this, this is a big jump in terms of understanding how we can act within this world and still avoid the reactions that will cause rebirth. In other words, it will lead us towards moksha. Preliminarily, what happens is it gives us understanding of how to act within this world, within everything that we do. This is why Krishna tells Arjuna to fight, not out of hatred. Don't fight out of hatred. Don't fight out of anger. Don't fight out of ambition, but because it is your duty, it is your responsibility to protect citizenry. And Duryodhan and his brothers and his father Dhritarashtra are behaving in such a way that their leadership is causing suffering amongst the citizenry, that ultimately the ultimate benefit is not there in them. And therefore, if they continue to do that, it will continue to perpetuate suffering within society. So therefore, Arjuna, as a Kshatriya who is following the principles of Dharma, it is your duty to engage. And therefore, your assessment of the situation that you're going to suffer sinful reactions, etc., is wrong. It's off. It's not in conjunction with the principles of Upanishads and Puranas. That's not uh, you're not going to get reaction for doing your duty in alignment with divine law. And see, this is the important principle. You act in alignment with divine law that is coming via three means: Shastra, which means the sacred text; Sadhu, which means the follower of the principles of the sacred text; and Guru, who is the sadhu that may be specifically aligned with your spiritual development. In order to be a guru, you have to be a sadhu. And then you are elevated to that position when you align yourself with the teachings or the realizations of that specific sadhu, and you take guidance from that specific sadhu. So all three of these um, principles, the Shastra, the sacred text, and the instructions like Bhagavad Gita, like the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, or the Bhagavad Purana. The sadhu is a sadhu because he or she is perfectly aligned with what the sacred texts are teaching. And the guru is the sadhu who somehow or another, through divine arrangement, you have aligned yourself with. Brahmande Brahmate, Guru Krishna Prasade by Bhakti Latavish, that the living entities somehow or another become aligned or desirous or deserving of, by Krishna's grace, meeting that sadhu who can give direction and plant the seed of bhakti within your heart. That's like an important principle, and Krishna will outline that later on in this same fourth chapter, 34th verse. So this is why Krishna tells Arjuna to fight. Why is this important for yogic life, what we're discussing now? Action and getting good reactions, bad action, getting bad reactions, and now this principle, understanding akarma, or inaction, or action that is not done out of one's own personal ambition or gratification, but in perfect alignment with the teachings of the Supreme Divinity in the Shastra. Why is this important? Krishna is teaching how to be free from the bondage of material existence, even while living in this world. This is what Krishna is teaching us in Bhagavad Gita. I don't know how many times I got the question, I am um, working. I'm going to work. I'm raising a family. I'm distracted. I'm not totally dedicated. I'm not sitting in meditation all the time. How is this possible? How am I going to achieve moksha, liberation, Krishna prema, if I'm doing these things? And herein Krishna is telling us how, through acting dharmically, and those dharmic actions are done with the mindset of it being yajna, or sacrifice, or an offering to the Supreme. You don't have to retire to a cave, Krishna is telling Arjuna. You don't have to stop working or stop doing your duty. You must change. You must flip the switch of consciousness. You must change the inner posture, not the outer situation. In other words, family, you could be a family person, have wife, have children, be a good citizen of your country. You can do all of these things if you flip that switch through the practice of sadhana. You flip that switch where you can see the consciousness can connect. You become yukta through yoga, through the process of connection or linking up. You become yukta, or you become connected. You become one who is connected. So what you do, that's why through the history, the Puranic history, there are many examples of personalities who are great saintly personalities, but they look like ordinary people. The one I'm thinking of is Pundarik Vidyanidhi. He was a personality in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time over 500 years ago. Pundarik Vidyanidhi was fabulously wealthy. And when I say fabulously wealthy, even by modern day standards, I mean, if you go to India and you have $100,000, you're pretty wealthy. You can be pretty well situated. But that's, according to Western standards, that's not fabulously wealthy. That means you have some money and you can live comfortably. But according to Western standards, when we talk about multi-millions, multimillionaire, Pundarik Vidyanidhi was considered like that. So he had the outer accoutrements of a very wealthy person. He wore silks, he wore jewels, even his spittoon was gold. He had, his furniture was fabulously designed and even encrusted with jewels. So from the external, a person would look at him and say, "Oh my God, this guy is like, really a sense gratifier." And there was an instance where I think it was Gadadhar who was instructed to take instructions from Pundarik Vidyanidhi. When he saw him and his situation, he said, "This guy looks like, an ordinary sense gratifier. I'm not going to take instructions from him." And then he was instructed, I think by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to go and recite this one verse about the glories of Krishna. And he did. But just by hearing that verse, Pundarik went into ecstasy. And then Gadadhar realized, right, that this was a very advanced soul. So the external is not what's important. You can be who you are meant to be according to your karma. In other words, if you're a good karma baby and you're going to have lots of money and you're beautiful or handsome, these are things that will be. And they're not things that have to be rejected. It's the internal development of that love for God that is important. And it is the internal mindset, the connective mindset, the becoming yukta, becoming linked up or connected internally, no matter what you're doing, the work that you're doing. Now, it doesn't mean that you'll own a bar, you know, uh, you have a steakhouse or something like that, but you're thinking of God. No, it doesn't mean that. It means that when you are internally developed in that way, you are naturally not attracted to those things. You're naturally attracted to more sattvic types of things, lifestyle, kindness. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Tattvam Sutram says kindness, kindness, compassion, mercy, cleanliness, friendliness, respect. These are qualities that do not have to be cultivated externally, but they will come out naturally as we develop our love for God. They're like a natural result of cultivating that pure mindset, that yukta, that connected mindset, connected to God. They come out naturally. Just
You
like
still with me?
if you take, a rough gem and you clean it and you cut it, and that gem, maybe in its rough state, you couldn't recognize the beauty and the luster that was there until you actually did the cleaning and the cutting, etc. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, this is a beautiful emerald or a beautiful ruby or a beautiful sapphire. So
Still with me? You
we
want to
are
go?
we are beautiful gems of existence. And we may be in a rough state, a rough format, but the cleansing process of sadhana actually brings out all these wonderful qualities. So this is it. Change the inner and do your dharma externally as a family person, as a member of society, as a citizen, etc. Do that, but do that in connection as an offering to the Supreme. So yoga, actually, what is yoga? Yoga is the art of doing, but not being entangled by your doership. You are active, but you do not get entangled by it because you're not attached to the enjoying the fruits of the results. That's like one of the quintessential points that Krishna makes to Arjuna in the second chapter and beyond. Do it, proper mindset, as an offering, and you do not get entangled in this world. You actually become more and more free internally. Sometimes freedom is misconstrued as doing whatever you damn well please. But the freedom that Krishna is talking about in Bhagavad Gita is acting dharmically and becoming free from entanglement, free from the karma bandhana, the type of action in this world that creates bandhana or entanglement or bondage. Jagnartat karmano nyatra. So if you act with this mindset of offering, everything is done as an offering, then karma natra, you're not entangled. You don't get bound. You're not under the law, the stringent laws of karma. But loko yam karma bandhana, if you do act with attachment, with desire to enjoy the fruits of your results, then your action will bind you to this material world. So you're not really free. You may have some minute enjoyment, but you're not really free because you're bound to come to this world again and to act under those laws. So real freedom, according to the Bhagavad Gita, is the ability to act in such a way that that action is liberating you from the entanglement that comes or the bondage that comes via the laws of karma. So how do we practice this? Krishna gives the method. First thing, what does he tell Arjuna? First thing, he tells Arjuna the first thing is do your duty. Your duty as a kshatriya, your duty as a parent, your duty as a husband or a wife, your duty as a son or a daughter. We have all kinds of duties. This is the age of Kali. It's not so clear, but what is clear is one of the because like for instance in Western society, and it's a valid question. We're not coming from Vedic culture. We don't know what the Dharma Shastras are and what the principles of Dharma may be according to the Dharma Shastras, like the Mahabharata and Bhagavad Gita, and there's the Manu Samhita and all the various Dharmic Shastra, Ramayana, that give clear instructions how to behave in a particular way. But what we are clear about is what we like and what we dislike, right? I mentioned this last week. We don't like to be lied to. We don't like to, have a person steal from us. There's certain behaviors that we do not want to happen to us, like people lying to us or stealing from us or cheating us. So many different, because intrinsically that's a principle of Dharma. So if you act that way and expect to be treated that way, then that's also a dharmic principle. You're acting according to the universal principles that are there. So we act that way. We act in conjunction, in alignment with Dharma. Secondly, we cultivate the mindset of seeing everything as an offering and everything in relationship to the Supreme. I had an incident. This is a very minor thing, and it may not seem significant to you, but I had a situation. I had to bring my car to my vehicle to the shop. We only have one vehicle now. Our second vehicle was somebody totaled it. Somebody hit my wife and totaled. It was not a pleasant situation, but we lost that vehicle. We had one vehicle, and some kind of scary message came on, and so I called up the dealership. It's still under warranty, and they said bring it in. So I had to bring it in today, and I needed to pick up my son. I picked up my son due to the generosity and the kindness of a friend. And then I kind of laid it on my friend, who wasn't really feeling well, but he still did me that favor. I said, "Oh, can you do something else?" And I could see he wasn't really feeling well. So he wanted to do it because of his love for me and our friendship, etc. And I can see, no, he's really not feeling well. So I said, just go home. Don't worry about it. What will happen by Krishna's arrangement. So he didn't want to do it. He really felt like I said, no, just go home. So he went home. And lo and behold, everything was arranged properly. The dealership called up and said, because they were telling me it would take 2 or 3 days to fix the car. They called me up just at the time that I needed to get my son another place, and I didn't have the ride. And they called me up and they said, "Oh, your car's ready. We checked it out diagnostically, and everything's taken care of. You can come pick it up." And we're sending Uber to pick you up to bring you here. And where I had to be was right along the path of the dealership. So everything just happened automatically. We develop a consciousness that what is happening will happen, by God's arrangement, by creation. So even if it doesn't happen in the way that you want it, still we see it that way. So this is cultivating the mindset, right? Everything we see in relationship, everything that happens to me, either good or bad, is for me. God does things for me, not to me. He's not punishing me, but he's doing, when we have that faith when we have that commitment, that conviction, then we can see, we can cultivate that inner awareness, that inner being. It may not be clear right away why it's going the way that it's going, even if it seems like it's going in the negative direction. But later on, it becomes clear. I've had that happen to me numerous times. So offer the results of everything, cultivate that. Drop the sense of I am the doer. We really have to understand that principle, the principle of the soul and what the soul is, and what the soul does in this material world while embodied. We'll discuss that a little further along. So drop that sense of ego. I am the doer. Remain equipoised. What was the first? Krishna gives many different yogas in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Sankhya Yoga is the first yoga he talks about. Buddhi Yoga, he talks about. Dhyana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, all these different yogas that he talks about. But what is the first word that he uses to define yoga in the second chapter? It's samatvam. Samatvam means that equipoised. One is equipoised. So to remain equipoised, it means we don't get bent out of shape if something's happening to us, to the negative, and we don't get too elated when something's happening to us, that's joyful or positive. So in the positive or in the negative, we remain fixed, steady, stable, or the word is equipoised. That's used in Bhagavad Gita. Whether success or failure comes. This transforms every action into worship and every moment into freedom. Every action is our worship, is our sacrifice, and every moment is freedom. So what is the external appearance as a result? Doing nothing but filled with desires, fear, and anxiety. That's karma. Yeah, that's when your actions are under the jurisdiction of karma. Acting vigorously in the world, but free from ego and attachment, that's akarma. That's the difference. Karma or vikarma, good actions or bad actions, are under the jurisdiction of the law of karma, and we have desires, fear, anxiety. Akarma is acting vigorously in the world, free from ego and attachment. So, how was that? That was a lot. I hope, does anyone have any question before I proceed?
Ready for your question? No, no problem. I'm gonna go wash up. Okay.
I'm sorry? Do you have a question? Or is someone mute?
Yes, he's unmuted.
Oh, okay. Which one is that?
Bindu
Oh,
and iPhone.
Oh, okay. If you guys can kindly mute yourselves. Thank you. So does anyone have any question now? What is a karma? As opposed to that's the question you should be asking yourselves to see whether you've listened tonight or not. What is the difference between karma and vikarma first? Who can tell me? Who would like
If
to?
you act with no interest in the fruits, you are not binding. You are not bound by karma, and that is a karma.
Yeah.
If you offer all your actions to God, that is vikarma. And the other is the regular thing where we most start.
Mhm. Does everyone agree with that? Thank you, Eleanor, for offering your understanding. Is there anyone who disagrees? So let me vikarma. Can you say what you think vikarma is again, please, Eleanor? Vikarma.
Say again.
I said, can you tell me again what your definition of vikarma is? A karma you gave
Oh,
a nice.
no, I messed up. Yeah, I
Okay,
see,
okay,
I messed up.
okay,
Yeah. Vikarma is when you go along with your desires. So
right.
that is where we are usually.
Yeah. Yeah, the vikarmas, you act according to the pushings. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jiva vegam, udaro pashta vegam. When you act according to the pushings, we have 6 pushings. The urge to speak, vacho vegam, manasa, the urge of the mind, krodha vegam, the urge of anger, jiva vegam, the urge to eat, udara, the urge of the belly, fill my belly, and upashta vegam, that's the urge of the sex drive. So we act according to those urges and not according to guidelines of how to behave in a particular way, then that's vikarma. Vikarma. Karma means that you have guidelines, you follow some guidelines, you follow dharma to a degree, and you get good results to those actions. But as Eleonora said, her description or definition of akarma was akarma means no karma, no action, inaction. You act, but there is no reaction because all of your actions are done with the mindset of offering, right? When you bathe in the Ganges, you take a scoop of water and you offer that scoop of water back to the Ganges. So we're in this material world, we're acting, but we're offering that action to the Supreme from whence it came. That becomes inaction or akarma and no reaction. And it leads us to a purified state of heart, a purified state of being, which allows us to progress.
I have kind of a side question.
Okay.
Yeah, you probably know where I get this from. I understand that bhaktas do not want moksha.
Right.
So why are we talking about moksha here?
We're talking about moksha because Krishna is talking about different types of different paths.
Ah,
And
okay. So, okay, he's not talking bhakti here.
not talking bhakti yet. In the seven through 12 is where the heavy bhakti focus is. But Krishna, is addressing the Gyanis who do want moksha. In the Nectar of Devotion or the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami tells us that there are different kinds of liberation. And the devotee really doesn't want any of those types of liberation. He only wants to serve. In devotion, in bhakti, in pure bhakti, Shuddha bhakti, the only motivation is to please God, to please Krishna. And if you remember, I told that story about Krishna had a headache and Narada Muni went around to the different personalities in the universe. And finally, it was the gopis who said, what Krishna needs, I will give willingly. Krishna said, only the dust from the feet of my devotee will cure my headache. No one, everyone was thinking, you can't put the dirt from my feet on Krishna's head. That's insane. That's so offensive. But the gopi said, will that help Krishna? Will that cure it? Then here, take it.
And
So,
he was asking for that. So,
right, exactly. Krishna was asking, this is what I need. And they understood. And even though maybe according to etiquette, to do something like that to a saintly person, what to speak of the Supreme, is highly offensive behavior. But the gopis understood. This is what Krishna wants. I give him what he wants. The gopis. I'm a married woman, but Krishna wants, wants me. He wants me to come and dance with him. So it is a thing to understand with guidance because it's not like Krishna wants you to cheat on your husband. It's like Krishna wants you to give yourself, your all, to him as an offering. So if we cultivate that, it's not seeking liberation. A devotee, a bhakti yogi only seeks to serve, not with the motivation as I'm going to get liberation. It's the true meaning of selfless love. That's like the true meaning of selfless love. That my beloved is of the desires of my beloved is my only desire. So it's not like we're promoting a position of okay. Este documento Gita wisdom with Lakshmi. Okay. It's not like we're promoting a type of behavior that puts us in a weak or a position where we can be exploited. No, it's really on a different level. Our beloved, whom we are giving our all in all to, is God, is the Supreme. In this case, in reference, in context, it's Krishna. We are offering that to Krishna. And we are behaving normally within the confines of this world and our duty. We're behaving according to proper etiquette. It's an important principle because sometimes people misconstrue that. Oh, we're going to be selfless. We're going to give to everybody and mean taken advantage of. No. Krishna didn't want Arjuna or anyone else to be taken advantage of. Quite the contrary. Duryodhana was trying to take advantage and exploit the Pandavas' wife, Draupadi, the Pandavas themselves, the citizens and their taxes, etc. No, this is not. This is something that within, like I said, within context, within this world, we have to behave properly and not, be trod upon. Does anyone else have a question or a comment they would like to make?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanat Pranam
Shakti,
Prabhupada.
Shaktiman Hari Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So I've sent a message in the Zoom chat.
Okay.
Is my understanding correct?
Okay. Where is it? There. Okay, we'll read what you wrote, okay? Oh, there's Shakti. Vikarma means actions that are performed against the scriptures. Okay? Right. Without any consideration for scriptural injunction. Karma, the fruit of activities performed for sense gratification. But even they are, because there's karma, and then there's karma yoga. So karma technically is, yes, fruitive actions, and it's done as opposed to vikarma. Karma, according to the Vedic paradigm, is done, with sacrifice to particular demigods, for instance, to get this or to get that benefit.
Mhm.
So even within the realm of karma, there is the following of certain injunctions.
Mm.
As opposed to vikarma, there's no concern for any injunctions. What is of concern is my own gratification. And akarma, performed to please Krishna, action and inaction. Yes, when your action is totally dedicated to Krishna, to the Supreme, then that action is not connected to the law of karma. It is now under the jurisdiction of divine law. So very good. Do you have a question, or did you want to just share that with the group?
You just want to share that with the group. Oh, no, I have no
Thank you.
question.
That was a nice, concise summary. Thank you very much, Shaktiman, for doing that.
Hare Krishna.
And comparto este documento, this document, Gita Wisdom with Lakshmi. Okay, you're offering that to the group.
No, it was not intentional. I'm sorry because it said that there was a transcription, and I was looking for it, and I don't know what I did, so I'm sorry.
No problem.
Anyway, your words are there.
Okay, we just wanted to get that cleared up. Anybody else have any realization, any observation you'd like to make, any question, yes, a point that was made that you'd like to get cleared up?
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Prabhu.
Premanaba Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
So la last week you were talking about the mode of goodness, how is not permanent. I remember a story Prabhupada Swami was telling me. Maybe he was the temple commander or the president, something in New York, and he went to get some fabric from this place for the devotees, maybe for devotees or something like that.
Probably, yeah. Those were the days where we bought bolts of cloth,
Yeah.
yellow cloth or white cloth, and
Yeah.
used them.
So when Maharaj were in, he said that he's a monk, he can give a discount. And the people took him to the back of the store and show him, look, we do charity here in this country, and we are, showing the philanthropic activities. And Maharaj being fired up, young, like try. He was like, so, but what are you doing for the soul? And immediately they like changed into like, why are you, like they became angry and kind of like kick him out of the store. So the mode of goodness just, apparently flew away from
Yeah,
anyway.
because there's two types of activities, shreyas and prayas. Prayas means actions that have immediate benefit. Shreyas means actions that have ultimate benefit, transcends just the immediate. So if let's say, mode of goodness, I give an apple to a homeless person, the person that's begging on the street, and you give an apple, right? An apple, and it's an ordinary person that the kindness of their heart they want to give some food, okay? And there are a lot of food distribution places that have that kind of mindset. They want to help people. So that food, if it's not offered or if it's not offerable, for instance, I've been to some soup kitchens that, what they give out as a meal is a ham sandwich and a bowl of soup, chicken noodle, or whatever the case may be. Okay. So their intention, of course, is noble. You cannot deny that they're feeding people. They want to see people not starve. But the thing is, for their intention, they may get some credit, but they're not going to get ultimate spiritual credit because they're giving food that has been obtained through violence, slaughterhouses, and things like that. As opposed to when I was in New York City, Primarnava, you probably remember this, we had a program at Tompkins Square Park where we would go a couple of times a week and we would have prasadam. So now the distinction between what is prasadam and what is food. Prasadam means food that is not obtained through violence, therefore it is vegetarian. That's one point. And the second point is that vegetarian food is offered to God first, and then it becomes prasadam or mercy. So action may appear to be the same. You're feeding people with the intention of helping people. But one is prayas. The immediate benefit that you're giving is you're putting food in the stomach of a person who needs it, and that's noble. So that would be considered prayas because that food is obtained from a slaughterhouse, which comes with a whole lot of karma. But prasadam, nonviolent food, which is not from a slaughterhouse, but is sattvic, fruits, vegetables, dairy, nuts, etc., offered to the Supreme in sacrifice. Like we were talking, everything that you do, everything that you offer, everything you give away, you do as an offering. That's given. That has shreyas. That has ultimate benefit. It not only has prayas, the immediate benefit of feeding someone. I remember some of the most joyous times I had and as being a devotee of Krishna and doing certain kinds of service was Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners that we would serve out. And people would come, in New York City, of course, Thanksgiving is cold and Christmas is even colder. So, sometimes it would be snowing and blizzard and freezing cold out. And we would get people to donate their storefront. There was a place in the Lower East Side where we would go all the time called the University of the Streets. And it was a storefront meant for community use. So certainly, in service to the community, meaning the Lower East Side. So certainly they liked what we were doing and they gave us this empty storefront to use. And the most joyous time was, feeding just nice vegetarian hot food in the middle of the winter during, for most people, a holiday that wasn't so joyous for them. They were either in a homeless shelter or worse. There was this one guy who came and he lived in an abandoned garbage truck. Along the Hudson River, there was an area where the city would park these garbage trucks that didn't work anymore. So what he did was he cleaned, it's a hollow space really because all the garbage goes in there, and he cleaned it out, and that's where he was living. He was living in a garbage truck in the back area where they used to throw the garbage. So, just the satisfaction of seeing this person get a wholesome meal that was, by Prayas standards, it was good for him and his body. By Shreyas standards, it was food for the soul also. He was taking Krishna prasadam, which means spiritual elevation, spiritual purification. So this is the kind of cultivation of a mindset that we need to do. And if you have the kindness within your heart, you see someone who's on the street begging and you want to give them an apple or some kind of nourishment, just make sure that it's been offered. Make sure you're doing not only filling their belly, but you're filling their soul. And that brings out so much joy and so much, reward in that regard that you're doing Shreyas as well as Prayas. Those were joyous times, believe me. Does anyone have any other question or comment or observation?
Yeah, me.
Okay, who's
Hold
the,
on.
okay,
Angelica.
okay. Angelica.
Hi. Yes. Um,
Hello.
Speaking of that offering, I know when I go to the Hare Krishna temple in Miami, they do the offering, the food to Krishna, and it's a whole ceremony for them, like the bells and the water and the prayers and stuff like that. That it actually does it one person. Um, how do we do, like you said, we can give an apple or banana to whoever wants it or needs it.
Mhm.
How do we offer that to
Yeah,
Krishna?
there is a process, and Angelica, you and I can discuss.
Okay.
I can give you the procedure, the process for offering, and anyone else that is interested in doing that, maybe we could have a separate Zoom where I can show you, exactly how it's done because it's a two-step process that you witness in the temple. One
Okay.
is the arati, and the
Mhm.
arati is the offering of the elements to God, because Krishna says in the seventh chapter, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, ego. These eight comprise my separated material energy. So one way, part of the bhakti ritual is we have an arati, and we are offering those elements, including our mind, our intelligence, and our ego. We're offering. So this arati ceremony is that kind of offering. Prior to the arati, we have the offering of the food to Krishna, because bhakti means there's levels of bhakti. In the Vaidhi bhakti stage, we may not be self-realized or lovers of God, but we may have the desire to develop that. So the Vaidhi bhakti system is that even we may not be advanced like that, we are interested in cultivating that kind of mindset. So therefore, there are different rituals that we perform that help us in cultivating a 24/7 service attitude to God. And one of those is the arati. The other one is offering. It is such a wonderful experience, a wonderful meditation when you're in the kitchen and you're cooking and you are thinking not about how my belly or my tongue will be satisfied, but you're thinking that Krishna really likes this preparation. And that's your meditation. Like every time if I make sweet rice, for instance, I once a week we'll have a sweet rice offering, and the meditation that because it's all over the Bhagavatam, and the great acharyas like Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings of what you can offer, what Krishna likes, and all of these things. So when you're cooking with that mindset, it is like it is really one of the heaviest, most transfixed meditations I do. That's why I don't mind cooking. Sometimes my wife tells people, "Oh, my husband cooks," but I'm thinking I'm not really cooking. I mean, yes, we're cooking. This is a meditation, and this is a wonderful meditation. So the preparation is a meditation. Getting the fruit, the vegetables, and the grains together. That's a meditation. And then the preparing, and then the offering, it's all part of the meditation. And this has a profound effect on the mind and how we cultivate the mindset. So we can do that. If you remind me, Angelica, we can do that. I can have a separate Zoom class where I go through the whole process of making an offering, where you could take that banana or that apple or that orange and you could offer it. And if you want to give it to someone in need, you can do the Shreyas part of it.
Like a
Okay.
5 minutes fast.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
You're welcome. Well, thank you, folks. Thank you all for being here with me again, and making my day, my week, actually, having your association. And yes, Eleonora.
No, I was waving goodbye.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought we were saying, wait. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So until next week, you all have a happy, healthy, and holy week. I look very much forward to your association next Tuesday, same time, same station. Until that time, Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Oh,
Hare Krishna.